summer of Trump continues. Taking over D.C., Putin on Friday, Russian collusion investigation in September. We have General Michael Flynn coming up this evening. He's probably knows more about Russian collusion than anybody, the only person prosecuted so far. He's got a book out. But first, the talking points memo. President Trump takes Washington, D.C. So 800 National Guard are going to the D.C. Armory right now, Associated Press is reporting. And they will patrol neighborhoods, suppressing criminals. So if you're a criminal and you want to go out and hijack a car or stick up an old lady to get money for drugs, and there's National Guard standing there, you are less likely to do it. Okay, there's also 120 FBI agents, and they are in the neighborhoods where crimes are most committed. So again, this is a suppression of crime, an institution of more safety for the public. Does everybody understand what's happening here? I hope you do. Well, the progressive left, the Trump haters, they hate this. And then the simple question is, wait. If you're going to make human beings, American citizens, more safe, and you have the legal authority to do it because the federal government runs the District of Columbia, why wouldn't you do it? Okay. So, in addition to the crime and murders, by the way, I'm sorry I said that, murders in D.C. rose between 2012 and 24 about 100%. And they've come down a little bit, but D.C. is a violent city and everybody knows it who lives there. You got to be careful. Everybody knows. Okay. In addition to the crime, there are about 6,000 homeless people, most of them drug addicts. And a lot of them live on public land, federal land. And Trump goes, no. So today, Caroline Leavitt, the press spokesman for the White House, said, hey, the Metropolitan Police are going to get the homeless, and they're going to give them a choice. You can either check yourself in, and I guess there would be accompanied to a shelter receiving mental health services, but if you do not do that, then you will be put in jail. Okay. Why that tactic? Because it's the only tactic that works. You're not going to persuade people to give up inebriation unless they're desperate. So if you talk to any drug rehab counselor, you can't rehab somebody who doesn't want to be rehabbed. And most of these people, not only in D.C., but all over the country, living on the streets, are drug addicts or alcoholics, and they want to get high all day, every day. You put them in jail, which you can do because there's an ordinance on the books in Washington, they can't get their dope or their booze. So they're going to leave. They're not going to hang around for that. That's how you get them out. And that's what the federal government is now doing. So the U.S. Park Police are going into the public areas owned by we, the taxpayers, and they're saying, you're out of here. No debate. That's not going to take long. But the progressive left, of course, they don't want that. They don't want anything like that because they hate Trump and they don't want laws to be enforced. That's a complicated issue, but it's absolutely true. All right, so the first guy I'm going to feature on this is our pal Pete Buttigieg, perhaps the worst transportation secretary in the history of the country. Under Joe Biden, you remember Pete, former mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Under Pete, the U.S. airline industry almost collapsed. And Pete did nothing because Pete didn't know what to do. And of course, President Biden didn't do anything. So people were delayed and had canceled and on and on and on and on. Well, here's what Buttigieg says about Trump and the feds going into law enforcement in the District of Columbia. Go.
As we speak, the federal government is taking over the policing of a major American city, Washington, D.C. The president is doing this not in order to make the city safer, that's the job of local law enforcement, but to solve his own political problems. He needs to get his base talking and thinking about something besides his refusal to open up the Epstein files.
Well, how would Buttigieg know that? Does he read minds? Does he talk to Trump about it? No. He wants to divert away from Epstein. Epstein's story is largely dead. Okay? We're going to have a little bit on it tomorrow, put a bow on it, but it's largely dead. But Buttigieg and the progressives, they want to tie Epstein to Trump. So anything Trump does, Putin meeting, anything, oh, it's a diversion. How would you know? How do you back that statement up, Buttigieg? You can't back it up. Just ridiculous. He's a ridiculous man. Okay, the other guy is former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Listen to this. Go.
Most FBI agents were not police officers before they came into the FBI. Even the most tactically astute, highly trained FBI agents, those who serve on SWAT teams, I know this as a former SWAT team member, they don't know, they don't do community policing.
Are you kidding me? This is so ridiculous. So all they're supposed to do, the FBI agents, is to stop crime by their very presence and to investigate gang members and things like that who may have organized carjacking rings. You tell me the FBI can't do that? Oh, fine. This is so absurd. I mean, I sit here every day and I go, these people, I guess they believe the American public's that stupid to listen to this garbage. All right? Now, there was a protective operation in Los Angeles. We all know that. When some of those riots out there got out of control and the federal government, Donald Trump, sent in the National Guard and stopped it cold. Stopped it cold. And that's what's going to happen in D.C. I guarantee this. This is 100%. This is easy. This isn't hard. The gang bangers in D.C. can't come out of their holes now, as long as the federal presence is there. Now, you would think that a McCabe and a Buttigieg, not fair people, not looking out for you by any means, would listen to the police union chief in Washington, D.C. Go.
Well, look, we completely agree with the president that crime in the District of Columbia is out of control and something needs to be done with it. We have to go back to how we got here, though. In 2020, the D.C. City Council passed an enormous amount of legislation that handcuffs police officers, exposes them to administrative, civil, and even criminal liability, even when they do their jobs properly.
And that happened in New York, that happened in Chicago, that happened in L.A., in San Francisco, same thing. Okay? We will hector the police. We will make it hard for the police to do their jobs. But the police union chairman, Gregory Pemberton, said, hey, we back Trump. We know the situation in D.C. is out of control crime-wise. Enter, this is unbelievable, and Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House. Here's what she tweeted, quote, Donald Trump delayed deploying the National Guard on January 6th when our capital was under violent attack and lives are at stake. Now, he's activating the D.C. Guard to distract from his incompetent mishandling of tariffs, healthcare, education, immigration, just to name a few blunders. Okay, so it's not Epstein, it's tariffs and everything like that. All right, Nancy Pelosi. Now, the Capitol Hill police chief at the time of the riot is named Stephen Sund. Here's how he reacted to Pelosi. Quote, ma'am, it is long past time to be honest with the American people. On January 3rd, I requested National Guard assistance, but your Sergeant-at-Arms denied it. Under federal law, I was prohibited from calling them in without specific approval. That same day, Carol Corbin at the Pentagon offered National Guard support, but I was forced to decline because I lacked the legal authority. So this, we have known that Pelosi was a saboteur of the National Guard coming to protect the Capitol. And yet she has the gall and the deceit to criticize Trump doing this. Hard to believe. All right, now looking forward, the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, very close ally with Donald Trump, is going to have another round of hearings, and D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is first up. He announced that yesterday. It's going to be in September. We don't have a date. So they're going to call in all the D.C. locals and say, why did you oppose something that would make your own citizens, your own residents safer? Why would you do that, madam? Oh, crime's going down. So what? So what? If crime goes down to zero, that's what we want. Okay, so that hearing, another House oversight, that's a busy bunch over there, okay? On the homeless situation, they can solve the problem fairly easily by saying, look, either help yourself or you go to jail for a few days and then you can't get your drugs and you're in withdrawal or whatever. And so they're going to all leave. They go to Baltimore. Baltimore, you can do whatever you want with drugs. Easy. So summing up, I expect this to be successful, this DC stuff. The opposition to Donald Trump continues to embarrass itself and be deceitful. Nancy Pelosi, incredibly deceitful. And that's where it stands, and that is the memo. Our healthcare system is a mess, you know that. You wait weeks for a doctor's appointment, get 5 minutes there, then face delays, insurance, red tape. It's slow, frustrating, and it's why all family pharmacy stands out in the madness. All family pharmacy believes in medical freedom, meaning you decide what works for your health, not some agency or insurance company. Ordering is simple. No waiting rooms, pharmacy lines. Just go online, place your order, and get medications delivered right to your door. They offer 200 medications, including ivermectin and antibiotics, plus emergency kits, customized orders, even bulk buys. More than 100,000 Americans already trust All Family Pharmacy. It's time you check them out. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use promo code BILL10 for 10% off. Take your health into your own hands. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill, code BILL10. So joining us now from Brooklyn, New York, is Colby Hall. You may know him. He's the founding editor of Mediaite. He wrote a column on how all of this stuff is going to negatively affect the United States big time, and it's coming up fast. Should I have included anything else in my lead before we get to the specifics?
No, I mean, I think you set it up wonderfully, but I also think that in one level, this is kind of obvious to anyone that has kids, or you go outside, you go to the park, everyone's on their phone. With the study, I thought sort of hung a lantern on was just how bad it's gotten. And no one's really talking about what an enormous, not just a generational shift, but a millennial historic shift. And we should start to talk about it because I fear it's going to get worse before it gets better.
But there has been talk in New York State, for example. There's a new law that bans phones in school during class time. They are concerned about the distraction, they being the authorities, but it hasn't risen to the level that parents are banging the emergency bell. And that's what I'm seeing. They allow the urchins to do this because if they don't, there's tension in the house. You know, there's angst. Now with me, that never worked because I don't care about angst. So I'm going, there's no phones at the table, and it never was. And that put the phone down is one of my favorite phrases. And do this. But I'm a martinet, word of the day. But most parents, they let the kids do it. So I think it's the parents' fault. And I do think it's going to adversely affect this country.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's everyone's fault, but the parents are the ones that are responsible, right? I also abide by a no phones at the dining room table ethos as well. And I'm proud to say my 22-year-old reads books. He's a big reader. My 18-year-old is not. And maybe that's because one just graduated from college, the other's about to go to college. But this is an issue where we need to figure out how we the genie is out of the bottle. The genie's out of the bottle and has got his own TikTok account and is distracted enough to try to solve this, right? I put in my column that I compared it to the Gutenberg, inventing of the printing press, which, changed, it started the Renaissance. It spread knowledge and understanding of Christianity, and so many great things came from it. But the effect of that took centuries to unfold and for people to read across the world. This is the same thing, but it's unfolded over a decade, right? And so there's been no guardrails. There's been no you can't really regulate it because it is what it is. I think you make a very salient point that parents need to take a lead role and be a lot stricter about this. And I happen to think, I've done some research on this in the New York public schools. Turns out, who's the biggest fan of not allowing phones in schools are many of the students, because they want to have a break. The isolationism and the anxiety, the lack of consciousness. I think a lot of these kids that are addicted to their phones, they're somewhat aware of it. And when you force them to detox and, I don't know, play a parlor game or spend quality time with your parents or your friends, or, I sent my kids to summer camp mostly so that they wouldn't be on their phones and they would be playing, pick up baseball, wiffle ball, swimming, fishing, what have you. Not everyone has that opportunity, but I don't know what's the solution. I think we are at a point where we need to recognize it so we can try to detoxify our brains before it's too late, because I think we're raising a generation of zombies who don't even know what's wrong with them, right?
And they're not getting stronger. This makes you weaker. It makes you weaker
Right.
mentally, and it makes you weaker physically because you're not out there exercising or anything like that. It's easy to isolate yourself in your room with the phone. And my 22-year-old, who I think is smarter than I am, he doesn't read many books, but he does research, and good research, on the stupid phone. But I have to explain to him that, look, you got to broaden it out, particularly if you want to be president of the United States, which I think he's got a shot at. All right? You can't just be a phone addict. Now, the thing that concerns me the most about mental health, and that's big in this country now, with all the addiction we're seeing, with all this violence we're seeing across our country. We are the most addicted, violent country in the world. Okay? We are. And that's shocking because we are based on Judeo-Christian philosophy. But the urchins don't even know what Judeo-Christian philosophy is. Okay? They don't know. So when I was teaching in high school, I saw the bullying in the halls. I saw it. I stopped it. And I stopped it sometimes in a very confrontational way. Now the bullying is on a machine. And they can tear kids apart, leading to suicides and all of that. And a lot of the kids don't tell their parents. They're afraid to tell their parents, all right, because they think the parents are going to run down to the school, or they're going to run to the kids' parents, and they're going to make it worse. That, I think, is one of the most dangerous aspects of this phone culture.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, you've worked in the media space for a long time, as have I. You've developed a certain level of skepticism, and you have a critical mind, and you can smell a scam a mile away, right? These young teenagers don't have that. They don't have the wisdom of those experiences. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, right? And that's made me smarter, right? And I can see, a phishing scheme, a spam, some sort of, attack to try to steal your data. I can see that coming. A lot of these kids can't. Two other things. I mean, I think there's been this rise of, I was talking about this with Jonah Goldberg yesterday, who was he's a conservative thinker. He started National Review Online, and, he was kind of like a comedian. He was sort of a troll, and now he can't do that because the trolling behavior from the extreme left and the extreme right has kind of ruined it for everyone. It's no longer funny. It's just mean-spirited. And I don't think that kids are equipped to handle that. And then the one last thing I would say, this isolationism. People just get lost in their own phones. They don't want to engage in the outer world.
Right.
And there's a lack of community. There's no faith-based living. There's no churches. People don't go to church anymore. And so there's a lack of community that is helping. Not every parent can do it on their own, but if there's elders in the community that can help out, that's gone away also. So it's a kind of a perfect storm of negative influences. I feel bad for our kids. We shouldn't blame them. They're kind of
in a free society, there isn't legislation that can stop it, and the cruelty
Right.
factor is rising. So because every tape of somebody being cruel is on that machine, TikTok or whatever it is. So the more cruel you are to your fellow man, the more
Right.
exposure you're going to get, and that they're just absorbing it like this. And it's real. It's not movie. It's not Terminator. Okay, this is real. And now the anesthesia fills in. I've seen it so much, it doesn't even affect me anymore. So
Right.
I don't know what the solution is. I know you can't legislate against the First Amendment. I do like all of this school stuff. No phones while classes are underway. And I think that we have to spread the word that parents have a responsibility. But the irony is some of the parents are worse addicted than their kids. Last word.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we can't solve this problem immediately, but recognizing it is the first step, and calling out adults to parent is a major first step, and take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Gobi. Appreciate it very much. What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting some breathing room. It is possible when you call American Financing. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, you're not alone. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off debt. Please call American Financing today before the problem gets worse. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans, consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. Their customers save an average of $800 a month. It's fast, simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Please call now before it's too late. American Financing, 888-462-9557. 888-462-9557. AmericanFinancing.net/bill. Homeowners, when is the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature. Just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered up with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Please use my promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL. Here is the final thought of the day. The Constitution gives every American the right to be a moron. And many of us exercise that right every day. There is a book, sold 6 million copies so far, by Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory. It's basically, you're not going to change the morons. You are not going to educate them. You are not going to make them better people. You are not going to make them see the light. And when you get a kid, that just drives you crazy, right? So Robbins says, you got to let them do it and work on your reaction. My reaction usually to morons is, I am polite. And I would throw out maybe a line. Maybe you want to think about this. Keep it pithy. That's all. Because I know people believe what they want to believe. You're not going to change them. They don't have a frame of reference. They don't understand how anything works. I'm writing my message of the day tomorrow about these letters I'm getting about Putin. People have no idea about what this is. You got to have some kind of clue, but you don't have to, do you? You have a right to be a moron. Thank you very much, all you smart people, because morons don't watch this, don't listen to this program. You got to know something to watch me. So we appreciate you. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for watching To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.